to increment our I each time, okay? So what's going to happen, essentially here, if we don't increment the I, the while will come in, I is equal to 0, okay? The condition is going to be checked. Is 0 less than 5? Yes, it is. This will be executed. So my array 0 will be printed, so 1 will be printed to the console. Alright, then we'll hit the end of our loop here. We jump back up. No incrementation has taken place because we haven't coded it in. So I is still going to be 0. Is 0 less than 5? Yes, it is. This will be printed. We're going to get 1, printed again. It's going to keep going 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 forever and a day. And that's because you're stuck there in an infinite loop, okay? And that's very bad for programming, and it can happen. And basically, if you are, say, doing a lot of stuff in here, like assigning memory and stuff like that, especially particularly in the old C++ programs, you're going to get a big a memory leak there, and that's going to be disastrous for your programming. Okay, so it's a basic error to forget to increment your I, and what happens? You get stuck in an infinite loop, and one will be. You should just try it yourselves actually within Visual Studio. Do this and leave out the incrementation, and you'll see you'll just get the first element printed forever and a day to the console. But we don't want that. We want to do it correctly. So what we're going to do is we're going to add in that line I++, and I'm not going to do I++ this time. I'm going to do I is equal to I plus 1. Okay, so that's what I++ is shorthand for. Okay, but it's probably a bit easier to read this. Okay, so we come in, I is equal to 0. We got 1 printed. We get to this point here. This line is executed. I is equal to I plus 1. So I will be put to 1. We jump back up, check our condition. Is 1 less than 5? Yes, it is. Let's go in here, print out the element stored at index 1, which is 2. Come down here, I will now get put to 2. Is 2 less than 5? Yes, it is. So index 2 is printed to the screen, which is 3. Then we'll go down here, i's get incremented again. We'll go from 2 to 3. Is 3 less than 5? Yes. We'll go in here, print out position 3, which is 4. I gets incremented again. It goes from 3 to 4. End our loop. Come back up here. Is 4 less than 5? Yes, it is. So we print our line again, and 5 is printed to the screen. Now, I gets incremented to 5, and this is a pivotal moment in our loop because we know what's going to happen when I is 5. This condition will fail, won't it? So, because 5 is not less than 5, so therefore, what's going to happen? We're not going to execute our code. We're going to jump down to the end. The condition, this evaluates to false. So we jump down here and we exit our while loop. Okay? So that's the while loop, and that's how the while loop operates. You can see it is very similar to the for loop. We have our initialization of our I. We have a condition. And again, we have an incrementation taking place. And that's very similar to the for loop. They're just laid out in a different manner. Okay? So, that's the while loop. Any questions on that? Any questions, Terry?
No, not yet, Mike, but continue on.
No questions? Okay, if that's okay, we'll move on now to look at the final loop in this tutorial, which is the do while loop. Okay? So, we'll just... Yeah. We can leave all that. Right, so, the do while loop. Now, the do while loop is a little bit different to the while loop, okay? And what is the difference? Well, the major difference is that, basically, we'll just draw it first. So I'm going to have a do this, and then at the end, you have while I is less than 5. Okay, so you can see what's going to happen. This is always going to be executed, no matter what. This will always be executed at least once, okay? So, the main difference being, there's no check of the condition. With the while loop, the condition was up here before the actual contents of the loop. So the condition is always checked before any code is executed. So, if that condition for our while loop was to fail, then no code within the loop would be executed, okay? But with the do while loop, no matter, even if this condition fails the first time, one iteration of the loop will execute, okay? So no matter what happens, say, let's just do that scenario. Let's put int I is equal to 10. What's going to happen here when we execute it? Now, if it was a normal while loop, what would happen? This would be up here, and basically we'd have, it'll come in, I is equal to 10, while I is less than 5. That condition would fail. This would never happen. We'd have nothing written to the console, okay? But with the do while loop, the condition isn't checked till after one iteration of the loop. So we'll come in here, int I is equal to 10, do this while I is less than 5. So it does it once, okay? So we get I written to I equal to 10, which is going to access outside of our array. Actually, it's not even going to get written. We're going to get an array out of bounds exception thrown. But let's say we had 10 elements in our array. Let's say we had 100 elements in our array. If we had 100 elements in our array, then it would work, and it would print to the screen. And we get down here, and then at this point, 10 is not less than 5, so we're going to exit our loop. So basically, that's the main difference. No matter what the condition, it will always execute the code within the loop once when you're using a do while loop. Okay? So we'll just go back to what we had initially. So I is going to be equal to 1, or 0 rather, because we want to access the first element in our array. And again, we'll just go through it. So do this. So I is equal to 0. So we're going to come in here. We're going to do console.writeLine. Again, no condition is checked. Console.writeLine, my array 0. So 1 is written to the console. Then we increment our I. So now I is equal to 1. And then we check our condition. Is 1 less than 5? Yes, it is. Jump back up to here. We'll print out my array, index 1, which is 2. 2 gets written. I will go to index 2. So we check our condition. Is 2 less than 5? Yes, it is. So we'll jump back up here. We'll do console.writeLine, my array 2. So 3 gets written to the console. Then we get our incrementation taking place. Then we check our condition again. Is 3 less than 5? Yes, it is. So we jump up here. Console.writeLine, my array 3, which is going to print 4 to the console. And then our incrementation takes place. 3 goes to 4. So check our condition. Is 4 less than 5? Yes, it is. So we jump back up to here. We execute our loop. My array position, index 4, is going to print 5 to the console. We get our incrementation happening, and our condition is checked, and it's now I is 5. Is 5 less than 5? That will resolve to false, and we'll exit our loop at this point. Okay? So you can see for each of the different loops, we've achieved the exact same result. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 has been written to the console. The main difference between a while loop and a do while loop is that with a do while, the one iteration of the loop will execute because the condition is not, no matter what, because the condition is not checked until that first iteration has happened. And we've already discussed the difference between the for each loop. So on that note, I would just like, for one last time, to open the floor to any questions on that. I think we have one question.
Joseph, if you have time, could you show how to iterate backwards from 5 to 1?
Yeah, so you want to use a for loop to go... Yeah, so it's just... Okay, we'll use a for loop. Is that okay, to for loop?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go backwards. We'll print backwards. So, essentially, it's going to be the exact same thing, Joseph, as what we've had already, except instead of starting at position 0, we want to initialize our I variable to what? 4. Okay? So let's do that. So we'll do for, we'll have int I is equal to 4. okay, I is going to be, what do we want I to be greater than? We don't want I to, we want it to be equal to 0, okay, so we want it to be greater than minus 1, okay, so I has to be greater than minus 1, or maybe we should, maybe is that a bit,
Hello, take
maybe we just leave it at I is greater than or equal to 0, how's that? Because then we're not going to minus figures then, it's getting messy. And then we'll do, instead of having, we want to do a decrement here now, instead of an increment, okay? So how do we do a decrement? On the side here, we could say I is equal to I minus 1, yes? Okay, shorthand, guess what that is? It's I minus minus, okay? So that's it, that's our for loop. And we will go through it and we'll do our output again. So we're going to write to the screen. So we're going to do console.writeLine. Console.writeLine, and we'll have the same thing again. My array, and we will have I in there. Okay. So let's just run through that. So we'll come in, and we can see here I is going to be initialized to 4. So then we'll do our check. Is 4 greater than or equal to 0? That resolves to true, so that means we can execute our loop. So we'll come in here and we'll write to the screen my array I is 4, position 4 in the array is 5, so 5 will be written to the screen. We come to the end of our loop, I minus minus, so I is equal to I minus 1, so I will be going from 4 down to 3. So we check our condition, okay, is 3 greater than or equal to 0? 3 is greater than or equal to 0. So we'll execute this line, so my array position 3, index 3 is printed to the screen, so that's 4. Come to the end of our loop, do our decrement, okay, so I is equal to I minus 1, so 3 goes down to 2, so then we check our condition again, is 2 greater than or equal to 0, that resolves to true, and we will print to the screen position index 2, so we'll get 3, and the decrement takes place again, it goes from 2 down to 1, then we check our position, check our condition, is 1 greater than or equal to 0? It is indeed, so we'll print to the screen position 1, which is 2, and then our decrement takes place again, so I will go down to 0, and our condition is checked again, so is 0 greater than or equal to 0? It is indeed, so we'll execute this line of code, we'll print to the screen my array position 0, 1 gets printed to the screen, then our decrement will take place, so we'll go from 0 to minus 1, and now we check our condition again, and we all know what's going to happen here. Is minus 1 greater than or equal to 0? No, it's not. So our condition fails, and we exit our loop. Okay? So that's pretty much it for today. You can see there, and that was a good question, Joseph, okay, because it's just something that's a little bit different. Essentially, you can see the process is the exact same thing, where instead of initializing to 0, we're initializing to the last index in our array, and then we have to change our condition, and finally we change our the increment to a decrement. So we're working backwards, and we can see the output to the screen corresponds exactly from that. We have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. But really, I'd just like to say one last thing. Really, with for loops and arrays, the most important thing really is your index. Always watch your index. If you specify an index that is out of bounds, such as I is equal to 5, if we start off there, what's going to happen? We're going to try and access a number that is not actually in memory, and basically it's going to blow up. Our program is going to have an index out of bounds, and it won't run for us. Okay, so that's basically it. Is there any more questions? If there's any more questions, I'd be happy to answer them. So just bear with me there, and I'll just check, is there any more questions? Perfect. Could you use I is not equal to 0? Barry, could you use I is not equal to 0? If you want me to answer that, can we use I is not equal to 0? Okay. I not equal to 0. Well, no, if we use I is not equal to 0, then essentially what's going to happen is it's going to fail when it is equal to 0. So what would happen is we would miss this. So basically, I know you said you figured it out already, Barry, but it's probably a good thing to point out for other students. If we had used not equal to 0 there, basically we wouldn't have got the last element printed out. Okay, so I'd really like to thank everybody for tuning in today. We'll be doing another podcast in probably 2 weeks' time, and again, Terry will invite everyone to attend. This will be available online probably later in the week or early next week for any students that found it a bit heavy going today. Revert back to it when you finish Unit 1, and it should all hopefully make sense to everyone. So we'll leave it there for today, and I'll just hand it over to Terry. Just wants to say one thing.
Hi everyone. Listen, I just want to apologise for the reduction in quality on the sound. We had it in our first instance, in the first webinar that we did. We managed to resolve it then for the subsequent ones, and because I appreciate your time is valuable. You come online here, and we don't like to have these technical issues, but some things are out of our control, and so we'll work to resolve them for the next one and hopefully make it a better experience for you. So thanks for your time and patience, much appreciated.
That's it. That's great. Okay. Thanks very much, guys. Again, as I said, we'll be doing another one in a couple of weeks, and we will see you then. Thank you.